And mean, when you have these names, you need to build systems that they can thrive on. These people need to teach the younger generations what they learned from the experience they have. So I mean, having someone like Macaulay Appa for Nigeria was a great one for Nigeria, but we failed to to utilize him to his fullest potentials.
Macaulay Appa, a great wrestler from Bayelsa State. If you remember, in 1984, he won gold medal at the African Wrestling Championship that was held in Cairo, Egypt. The same year, he also became the very first Ijaw man to compete at the Olympic Games, placing, near fifth. He came fifth at the 1984 at Los Angeles Olympic Games, and that was a pride to the Ijaw race and, of course, Nigeria. We meet Macaulay Appa at the age of 71. He passed on, but what I really do not know is, Kingsley, do you think, like you mentioned, it was not properly, placed by Nigeria? Has there been a replacement for Macaulay Appa over the years?
If until Nigeria turns, pioneers into builders, we will not have systems, because I mean, when you have these experienced ones, when you have these players, these athletes who have been able to go to the highest, and when they've come back home, there's nothing and there's no medium for them to pass through this wealth of knowledge they have to the younger generation. The history will keep repeating itself if you're not able to create that mentorship through them. So I mean, you look at other institutions around the world, the likes of Johan Cruyff. You look at these coaches, these players around the world, and what they've been able to do. They've been able to create that medium for them to that system for them to pass on the wealth of knowledge they have. But it's a different game here in Nigeria, where we do not have those systems put in place. So I mean, if we are not able to put those systems in place, it's going to still be, history will keep repeating itself.
History definitely repeats itself, but we just hope that the Wrestling Federation of Nigeria will do her very best to ensure that we preserve, the legacies of Macaulay Appa, pioneer wrestler of repute for Nigeria. We hope that the efforts will be done in having a replacement for Macaulay Appa as well. Now, let's go to basketball. And in basketball this morning, the president of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, Amadou Musa Kida, has extended warm New Year greetings to Nigerians, especially stakeholders in basketball. Kingsley, you are aware that of recent there has been a lot of rancor in basketball administration in Nigeria, and the #1 man in basketball is coming out there suing for peace, and hoping that stakeholders in basketball will assist in ensuring that basketball is brought to the fore here in Nigeria. What do you think?
Yeah, you look at what Musa Kida, the president of the Nigeria Basketball Federation, has said. It's not just a ceremonial, language or a message to pass, for the new year. I mean, and you look at it's a warning for the Nigeria Basketball Federation. Nigeria basketball, globally, the visibility Nigeria has, I don't think Nigeria has had that kind of visibility before. So Nigeria right now is fragile, and investors are watching. The outside world is watching. They don't back, investors don't back internal disputes. Sponsors do not commit to confusion. So we also you have those problems, internal problems in the federation. I mean, it's going to be hard for the federation to move forward. So he's just calling on every stakeholders, everyone involved in the Nigeria Basketball Federation, to have unity, to have that harmony, to ensure that the Nigeria Basketball Federation is able, to do better than they were last year. 2026
is an election year into the Basketball Federation, and there will be another, rancor and jostling for the top position in basketball.
Yes, there's going to be rancor and hustling, and we're going to see what we've experienced previous years. We do not want to experience that again. I mean, having that unity does not mean there needs to be harmony for me per se. There just needs to be control. It brings credibility to the MBBF. So if we are able to commit our elections, do everything without having those issues we've had before, I mean, it's going to put a bright spot on Nigeria's name. It's going to be a good one for Nigeria. It's going to help Nigeria with our credibility, the control we have, and how the outside world also sees Nigeria.
Well, let's stay away from basketball now and go to boxing. And talking about boxing, Oluwatosin Emmanuel Adesina, popularly known as Destiny Boy, has set his sights on occupying the #1 spot in the super bantamweight category in Nigeria. This is coming after defeating his opponent Abdullahi Adeyemo by point decision after 6 rounds of action at the Campos Mini Stadium out there in Lagos Island. This took place just at the weekend, and Destiny Boy taking out Abdullahi in round 6 with a powerful left hook after dominating 6 rounds in the National Super Bantamweight Boxing Challenge held on the card of the lad. Kingsley, this is the way to go. We want to see new names prop up in different categories of boxing.
Yes, you look at Destiny Boy and what he was able to, achieve. His victory in Lagos was convincing. His confidence was also refreshing for me. But Nigeria boxing has taught us, to be cautious with, early coronations. You do not need to coronate these young boys early. Talent ends that attraction, but discipline, keeps sustain those career for me. So it's too early for us, to start praising him. But he just needs to keep his head down. The difference between a national champion, and a local champion is his discipline, his attitude to work, and the structure around him. So if he's able to get the right support around him, the right systems around him to help him grow, we might be looking at probably someone would represent us when it gets to the All-African Games, on the continental stages, on the international stages. But discipline needs to be there. He needs to the next 6 months of his career is going to be more important than his last 6 rounds he was able to fight. So we need to keep these players in check. Talent earns that attention, but for me, discipline sustains career.
Talking about discipline, sustained career, we just hope it will be. And still in boxing, let me say here that Anthony Joshua has just been discharged from hospital. That was only yesterday in the afternoon, after being ensured that he is very stable and can now recover from home. Remember, Joshua was involved in a car crash that led to the death of 2 of his close friends and staff. But he was saved, and the driver in that car crash. This is good news to the boxing world, but then there's still grief.
Yeah, there's grief, but a sigh of relief, at most. We look at Anthony Joshua as what he has been able to accomplish, as a boxer for Nigeria and for the UK. It's great relief that despite, the sad happenings around and the loss of his 2 friends, Anthony Joshua and the driver, were able to be survivors in those cars. And it might take a toll on him, mentally, but it's a good one that he survived, and the whole world, is showing support right now to Anthony Joshua, and his family.
Anthony Joshua and the family, especially the mom, went to the morgue to pay last respect to the 2 friends of Anthony Joshua, and of course staff that passed on in that car crash. We just hope that Anthony Joshua will recover good enough. He's supposed to have fights in 2026 that is upon us now.
Yes, he's supposed to have fights. We saw Anthony Joshua, getting back to, his best. He's not been the Anthony Joshua we knew 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But you look at Anthony Joshua, he has been relentless. He has been trying to get back, to his best. And we saw him, against Jake Paul in a rather controversial fight. He was able to get that victory for himself. So you look at Anthony Joshua, and when this incident is happening, it's really a bad one for Anthony Joshua. Let's see how he takes it. Anthony Joshua is a strong person mentally, but the death of 2 friends and 2 associates, can take a deep toll on you. So going into 2026, we just wish that Anthony Joshua will be able to get that balance, mentally. He's able to come back stronger mentally and emotionally, to keep tracking his progress.
Well, talking about Anthony Joshua, remember him, he just took out Jake Paul in a fight just a few days ago, December 19 to be specific, and he was only in Nigeria for a holiday to see his grandparents before this event happened. Talking about accidents on Nigerian roads, from data made available from the Federal Road Safety, nearly 10,000 road accidents occurred 2025.
Yeah, that's down to, a lot of factors. Not excusing bad roads, but also, recklessness of drivers also. You look at the Anthony Joshua incident, as a case study. A lot of bystanders and, eyewitness talked about the high speed, his team were moving. And that created deeply to how the event turned out. So we urge all road users, to be more cautious, do not drink and drive. And also we urge the government and the government officials, the ones responsible for putting our social amenities in check, should be able to give us good roads, to ensure that the death toll and the accident tolls will be able to reduce.
Let's continue with our sports stories, and this time we'll get to table tennis, where Nigeria's Haruna Quadri has finished 2025 as Africa's top-ranked table tennis player. In the final year's ranking released about 24 hours ago, with those that the International Table Federation put Haruna Quadri as the #1 tennis player for most of the year, closing the season as world number 28 and #1 in Africa.
I mean, you look at Haruna Quadri and what he has been able to do. I mean, it's a sign of, concern, and also, a sign of triumph for Africa. I mean, having just one player, in the top, ranking 1,000 points, I mean, it's a sign of concern. It shows that we have the talent, but the structure is not there. Having a talent like Haruna Quadri, dominates in a sport, owned by, the Asians. It tells you about the kind of talent we have, but the lack of structure in the Nigeria and the African system has not allowed, these Africans, to thrive.
Well, we just hope that there will be a replacement coming soon for Haruna Quadri. He's been around for a long time. A lot of people believe that he could be retiring any moment soon. But still looking at the rankings, Omar Assad, one man who has given him some kind of challenge in the past, is next on the rankings. He's number 32 in the world, Omar Assad of Egypt.
Yeah, Omar Assad of Egypt, has given him those tough times, especially in the All-African Games and, the African table tennis competitions. He's been there. He's been the one who has been able to push Haruna Quadri, to the limits. And when it comes to Africa, and apart from Omar Assad, we've not seen anybody come close. But we need to see more and more of this talent, coming up, because you look at Haruna Quadri and the age of Haruna Quadri, he is supposed to be one of those legends who maybe might have been, dropping his bat, but the lack of talent has made him still relevant in Africa till date. So we need the likes of Omar Assad. We need more of those Omar Assads that will be able to, push Haruna Quadri, to these limits.
Well, talking about limits, let's see what it is at the basketball, the NBA in the United States of America. At this period, in the early hours of this morning, we saw the Chicago Bulls triumph over New Orleans Pelicans. It ended 34 points over 118 points from the Pelicans from New Orleans.
Yeah, you look at the Pelicans from New Orleans. They've not been able to do so well for themselves. So it's been a very, very bad one for them. Look at the Chicago Bulls. They've been able to do well for themselves. That, the balance scoring on steroids, and with Kobe White and Josh Giddey out, the Chicago depth has been able to show up in a big way. Isaac Okoro also has been he led the way with 24 points, but stood out was how seamlessly the Bulls were the role players were able to step into those positions, to step up, to get those high scoring chances for the team.
While talking about basketball at the best, the Knicks from New York went to San Antonio, but the Spurs stopped them by 2 points. It ended 134 in favor of the home side Spurs, as against 132 scored by New York Knicks. Very close one there between the San Antonio Spurs and New York Knicks. 2 points difference.
Yeah, it was a match of momentum, but one man stood out in that game. Julian Chamberlain, and he was he had a record for himself there. Was able to record 11 3-pointers, and 36 points, spark, bringing the San Antonio comeback from 19 down. Meanwhile, Victor Wembanyama was strong also for his team, getting 31 points. Was overshadowed, by the injury in the fourth round. So I mean, it was a tough one, and it was a very interesting game. But I mean, having the Spurs, getting the better one over Knicks, says it all of how the match went down.
Denver Nuggets from Denver went all the way to Toronto, and of course were able to beat Raptors by 104 points to 103, 106 points to 103. Just 3 points gap between the home side Raptors from Toronto as against Denver Nuggets that emerged winners in this tie.
Yeah, Denver Nuggets, they've been able to show a little bit of consistency, this season, after, the previous exploit they've been able to do. So, I mean, getting back to their best after, selling a lot of good players and trying to build up the squad, is a good one, especially against a Toronto Raptors team that has been really stubborn recently.
Milwaukee Bucks and Washington Wizards, what a match.
Yeah, Milwaukee.
1 point difference, 113 to 114 points. The away side Washington Wizards beat the home side, Milwaukee Bucks, by 1 point. What could be happening to a Nigerian star player in that fixture?
Yeah, I mean, you look at him and what they've been able to do. I mean, it was really a tough game for them so far. It was also full of issues. Milwaukee Bucks also has been inconsistent. There's quality in that team, but the inconsistency too has not helped, that team, do very well recently.
Portland Trail Blazers could not score up to 100 points in the tie between them and, of course, their counterparts from Oklahoma. The City Stars, the Thunders from Oklahoma, beat them by 124 points to 95, scored by the away side. What could be happening? Portland Trail Blazers finding it difficult to score up to 100 points in this fixture.
Yeah, it's down to the brilliance of that team, the Thunders, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was able to, produce a masterclass, in that game. He was able to get 30 points on nearly 74% shooting and a turnover-free masterclass, as, the OKC obliterated the Portlanders. So, you look at that brilliance for that man and from, the Thunders, it's really, really fantastic for the team. They put the difference in class was there for the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So the one team stood out and showed in the results so far.
Well, that'll be where we take the break at this point. We'll return back, and when we return, it will be a lot to come from football. We'll look at the local scene here, and especially the Premier League fixtures coming up. Maybe by tomorrow, yes, sure. By tomorrow, we'll have more intriguing fixtures in the Premier League as well. But don't forget, the African Cup of Nations is ongoing in Morocco. What a match. The Ivorians came from a 2-goal down to overpower their opponents by 3-2. The opponents, when we return from the break, stay with us. Welcome back. It's Sports Talk on New Year Day here on Atlantic Television Network, and we've told you earlier how Anthony Joshua has been discharged from hospital to recuperate from home aftermath of a car crash a few days ago. We told you equally how the Basketball Federation, President Musa Kida, is sued for peace, especially ahead of election coming up later this year. Now, let's get to football and bring you football stories. We start from a local scene where the Unitide has afforded opportunity for teams to recalibrate ahead of the very busy ending sessions of the league. And because of that, we've seen teams like Wiki Tories reconstitute their management side. Kingsley, this is, like I said, opportunity for teams to recalibrate after going like halfway of the season. Wiki Tories, one of the teams struggling to avoid relegation. Will reconstitution of management be a way out for the team from leaving the bottom of the league table?
I mean, for me, it has been one feature of the MPFL that I do not really fancy. Where panic replaces, planning. When a lot of these teams are not doing well, they fear relegation instead of building an identity for the team. I mean, doing this, coming into a new team for the Wiki Tourist side, coming back to the MPFL, trying to build a name for themselves, it's going to take time. And if they are able to give these coaches, the time they need, is going to be, really helpful. But I mean, it has been, when relegation threats, instead of the club, to reflect, there are more coaches are dismissed, boards are reshuffled. So it hasn't been a good one. It has not been a good identity for me in the MPFL. But I mean, these clubs need to do what they need to do, to survive in the MPFL, and it has to be, quick thinking. I mean, look at teams like Eyimba, since sacking the Stanley Uguma, they've been able to, bounce back on their feet. So it's a good one for Wiki Tories, getting a new coach. Let us see if he's going to be able to get them, out of the relegation problem they got themselves into.
Still looking at how teams are beginning to re-strategize ahead of conclusion of the Premier League here in Nigeria. Ladan Boso, you remember him, coach of Barrow FC, has been asked to step aside in a bid to reinvigorate the team ahead of some busy schedule leading up to the end of the season. Ladan Boso, very well-traveled coach here in Nigeria. He's happened to the national team before, but it looks like he's finding it difficult to manage, maybe get results with the relatively new Barrow Football Club playing in the Premier League.
Yeah, Ladan Boso, well-respected and well-experienced coach in this Nigeria, in the Nigerian footballing scene. But recently, he's not been able to, give those good results, even on the national level, when he has had the opportunity. So I mean, Ladan Boso has not been able to do well, and it tells you maybe, just maybe, these old names, have, the game has outgrown them. The likes of Stanley Eguma, Mama Makaba, but these names have not been able to. I mean, they need to, try to modernize their structure. Try to, grow with the game. Try to adapt to new tactics and new, possibilities. So if these names are able to do that, I mean, they need to learn to adapt. And Ladan Boso in recent times, has not shown any sign of adaptability, and he has struggled with this Barrow FC side, and the Barrow FC team is not patient enough, to wait for him. They do not have that confidence in him, and they decided to let him go.
Ladan Boso, former coach of Bayelsa, I think he left Bayelsa for Barrow, and now he's having issues with the team, and he's been asked to step aside while they reorganize. Hopefully, there'll be new technical manager for Barrow FC in the days ahead. We'll definitely follow it up and get it all for you. Meanwhile, the African Cup of Nations continue in Morocco. 24 countries are there. So far, we've seen the third round of matches played in the group, and it looks now that some teams will have to go home while others will progress to the round of 16. But in the last group of matches played last night in Morocco, we saw interesting results. Who was surprised that Equatorial Guinea lost to Algeria by 3-1.
Yeah, Equatorial Guinea losing to Algeria, I mean, it didn't come as a surprise to me. Look at how the Algeria has been able to, play in this competition. They've seemed to get their confidence back, especially when their key man, the star man, the talisman in that team, I'm talking about Riyad Mahrez, has been able to, find his form again. I mean, that is a big morale booster to the team and looking at how they play, they are just one of those few teams, including Nigeria, that's been able to get, all 9 points, from the 3 games. And it tells you how this team has been able to shape up despite, the reshuffling of the team. They've been able to still, amass all 3 points, in this one, going into the next round of the competition. So Algeria has also established themselves, as one of the favorites to going into this tournament.
Algeria 3 points, maximum 3 points that have gotten from the group games, and while Algeria is the first on the group, Equatorial Guinea, their conquerors, is last in the group. They've not had any point at all. They've played 3 games, and they will returning back home with no points from the 2025 edition of the African Cup of Nations. Not a good outing for Equatorial Guinea.
Yeah, it's a very bad outing, for the Equatorial Guinea side, and especially looking at how they were able to perform, in the last AFCON, especially with their player, winning the Golden Boots. It tells you that we've not seen, development, from that team. They've not been able to live up to what we saw. Maybe what we saw the last time was just a fluke, and Equatorial Guinea has not been able to do what we expected them to do, in this group. Looking at this group, I expected them to be one of those teams to be able to qualify, but I mean, they proved me wrong, and they proved a lot of football fans wrong by not qualifying and going home.
Well, let's look at the other results in the group. Sudan, they played Burkina Faso last night as well. They lost by 2 goals to nothing. Talking about Sudan, Burkina Faso beating them by 2 goals to nothing. So in that group now, we have Algeria and Burkina Faso as the 2 teams with the automatic qualification spots. They have now won 2 games. Talking about Burkina Faso. And for Sudan, they won 1 game before, and now they have only 3 points from the 3 games they have played. Do they still have a chance of qualifying at least among the 3rd place losers?
Yes, obviously, Sudan has a chance of qualifying among the 3rd place losers. You look at
best place teams.
Yeah, the best place teams, best losers. As you could see, they've been able to do well for themselves. It's not it has not been easy for the team, and they are going to face Senegal, going into the next round of the competition. Sudan, for the first time in a lot of years, looking at what the country is going through currently, with the political problem going in the country. I mean, this is a moral booster for the team. It's going to help them. Football stands as one that when teams are struggling, as a nation is struggling, it's a sign of hope for them, and this has also been a sign of hope.
Talking about hope and its sign, Gabon had hope last night. They were going to beat Ivory Coast, especially with them going 2 goals up. But the Ivorian side, the Elephants of Ivory Coast, found a way to equalize, come back from 2 goals down to 2-2, and eventually scoring a 3rd goal that ensured that they remain top on their league table there in Group F.
Yeah, this sort of momentum and, morale boosters, is what helped teams, do well, especially going into knockout stages of the competition. I mean, it shows how this team will be able to perform under pressure, coming from 2 goals down to be able to get that 3-2 win over Gabon, that Gabonese side. I mean, it's a good one for the team. It shows the leadership they have and the kind of presence they have on and off the pitch. They were able to get all 3 points from that one, and I'm sure the Nigerian side will also be jubilating them, because I mean, that would have been a classical round of 16 fixture between Nigeria and the Cote d'Ivoire side too.
Meanwhile, in other fixtures played in the group, Mozambique lost to Cameroon by 2 goals to 1. Cameroon have same number of points with Cote d'Ivoire, but they are 2nd place in the group there. So now, effectively, it is Gabon that is going home from the group. Mozambique still have a chance of maybe coming among the 3rd place losers.
Yeah, Mozambique already among those 3rd place losers, and Nigeria is going to be facing Mozambique, in the next round of this competition. I mean, Cameroon also were able to show that resilience, despite coming down from a goal down, they were also able to come down, to win that game 2 goals to 1. So you look at this Cameroonian side, and they've been able to also do well for themselves. And for the Mozambique side, they showed resilience, especially when they played against Cote d'Ivoire and also against Cameroon. And coming into play Nigeria is going to be a tough one for Nigeria. They're not going to back out, without a fight.
Gabon, not effectively, eliminated from that group. One would have been thought that it would have been Mozambique, but Mozambique at least has 3 points, and it is Gabon that is going home early.
Yeah, for the Gabonese side, we expected more from them, especially looking at the quality of players they have.
Aubameyang in that squad?
Yeah, Aubameyang in the squad, the likes of Lemina also in that squad. We expected more from this Gabonese side, but I mean Mozambique, showed more of a fight, than Gabon in this competition for me.
Meanwhile, all group stage matches at the ongoing African Cup of Nations came to a conclusion yesterday. Of course, with eliminated teams set to pack their bags and, of course, head to the airport and leave Morocco, while victors and, of course, the best possible third place teams will move into the round of 16, starting effectively on the 3rd of January. Is it tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow we have the round of matches. Super Eagles of Nigeria will be in action. Do you know of their likely opponents?
Yeah, the Super Eagles of Nigeria is going to be in action with Mozambique, on Monday, the 5th of January.
Tuesday?
Yes, on Monday.
Monday?
Yeah, the 5th of January 2026. So I'm looking at the Nigeria side, they are preparing, earnestly, for that team. And there are also other nutcrackers in this competition. I mean, we also have the likes of South Africa against Cameroon. That's going to be on the 4th of January. So, I mean, there are a lot of tough fixtures, in this stage of the competitions too.
South Africa up against Cameroon. That will be a crack of a fixture to follow. The South Africans seem to be more serious-sided. But talking about Cameroon, a team that is not going to the World Cup looks at the Nations Cup as a way to redeem itself. Same way like we are seeing of the Super Eagles wanting to redeem themselves via the African Cup of Nations.
Yes, obviously for teams like big names like Nigeria and Cameroon that were not able to go to the World Cup, they would want to give their fans, something, to joy about. So this is an opportunity. And looking at it, for the Nigerian side, the players, a lot of the star players have not been able to, have anything to their name for the Nigerian team, not having any trophy to their name. I mean, this is an opportunity for them to get that AFCON trophy, also for the Cameroonian side too.
Talking about the African Cup of Nations reminds me that the Confederation of African Football has opened discussions on the hosting rights for the 2028, 2032 and 2036 editions of the African Cup of Nations tournament. This is fully adjustment to the calendar. If you remember, we only said a few days ago that CAF is aligning with Europe with a 4-year play of African Cup of Nations, effectively after the 2028 edition.
Yes, you look at it. It comes with its own pros and cons. You look at the strategic thinking. It reflects strategic thinking from this team. Looking at the prize money also is going to be double, but it comes at the cost. It comes at the cost of consistency, and the quality of the teams and quality of play we have in the AFCON. We are not going to see those opportunities from these smaller nations, also coming into the competition. So efficiency without inclusion, I mean, is going to be a big one for the Confederation of African Football for me.
Confederation of African Football being played after 4 years, and a bid for the host nations up to 2032 is being put out there. And time for us now to get to the Premier League in Europe. Today is New Year Day, and it will be a lot of football for the teams out there in England. It's something interesting. Yes, in some countries they are resting, but for the Premier League in England, it is football action kicking off from 5:30 p.m. Nigerian time. It will be Crystal Palace up against Fulham. This promises to be a fight of, struggling sides.
Yes, these both teams have not been able to be, up to their best, especially with Crystal Palace selling, a lot of their key players, and the sale of Ebere Chieze has really dealt a big one for them. They've not been able to be back to their best. And you look at this Fulham side, losing 3 of their key players, to the AFCON. They've struggled, in recent times, looking at how key players have been out. So it's a struggle for both teams, and both teams would want to get, all 3 points, to bolster themselves. I'm looking at they want to get into comfortable positions. They do not want to get worried, about getting into those relegations battles.
Liverpool is at Anfield against Leeds United. This promises to be a cracker.
Yeah, Liverpool against Leeds, it has always been a tough fixture. Looking at the history, both club have, but Leeds have been able to show. Daniel Fark has been able to, turn this Leeds side around, and also with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, firing on all sides, it's going to be a tough one for Liverpool, especially this Liverpool side that has been able to, find form. And it's going to be a tough one. Mohamed Salah is out of this side due to the AFCON. So let's see what Liverpool, will they be able to be consistent? And they are up to fourth on the log, on the Premier League log. And so you look at what Liverpool have been able to achieve, despite all the noise, they've been able to shut out all the noise, and they've been able to push forward. So it's going to be a tough one for Liverpool, given the history of both clubs, given the position Leeds is right now. But I mean, it's the Anfield, and I expect Liverpool to take off 3 points.
Brentford is at home against Tottenham Hotspur, and Spurs have not been very convincing, if you ask me.
Yes, Spurs have not been convincing, especially when it comes to away game. But it's also going to be, a very dramatic game for Thomas Frank, especially going back, to his former home. So it's going to be a tough one for Tottenham. Tottenham has not been fantastic when it comes to those away fixtures, and looking at Brentford, their home fixtures, it has been a good one for that team. So it's going to be a tough one for Brentford, but I still believe that it's going to be a closed game between both sides for me.
Talk about the close fixture. The encounter between Sunderland and Manchester City, will it be close?
It's not going to be close, especially looking at the position Manchester City is, the momentum this team has right now, and them chasing for the title. I mean, they know it's very possible, and given us now track record of the previous season, I mean that they have the opportunity to just keep to get into the pole position of the league. So going up against Sunderland that has not been fantastic, and losing about 6 players to injury, they do not have the squad depth to fight against this Manchester City side. So it's going to be for me, it's going to be a free game for Manchester City taking all 3 points.
Sunderland is placed 6th or 7th on the league table, so do you think they can act as spoilers for Manchester City trying to catch up with Arsenal?
I mean, you look at this Manchester City side, like I said earlier, and the momentum they have right now, and the current position Sunderland has been looking at the injury crisis they have, and losing some of their key players also, to the AFCON. It has dealt a big one for Sunderland, and looking at Manchester City, I mean, Rodri has returned into the squad, and we cannot deny the quality Rodri adds into this team. So for me, Manchester City playing at home against Sunderland, it's going to be a tough one, but I might still see Manchester City, taking off 3 points against the Sunderland side.
Wow, what's his name? Roberto Carlos, remember him? He's had an heart surgery, and all our hearts are with him on this New Year Day.
Yes, all football world and supporters worldwide, show support for Roberto Carlos. He's someone who has brought joy into a lot of football fans' face and a lot of footballers, as well as a sign of inspiration to a lot of upcoming footballers and current footballers right now. So I mean, the whole world, shows support for Roberto Carlos.
Roberto Carlos playing played for Real Madrid, if you remember, and of course Brazil, the national team as well. We wish him the very quickest of recovery out there, aftermath of a heart surgery. And that will be it for this edition of Sports Talk on New Year Day. Definitely we'll be back later in the evening for Sports Extraordinary, where we'll bring you some of the key highlights to look out for in the Premier League in England. And of course, latest happening from Morocco as well, where at least 6 teams will be going home from the competition after competing in the group stage of the competition. And don't forget as well, the Super Eagles of Nigeria are likely to be in action in the next few hours from now as well. So we'll take a look at what to expect in the encounter between Nigeria and Mozambique at the round of 16 at the 2025 African Cup of Nations. Until 6 p.m. Nigerian time, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Happy New Year to you out there.